Okay, like we're gonna get started. If you could just state your name and something from this list that you talked to someone about that you thought was interesting and you wanted to share. So my name's Rebecca, and I was talking to this gentleman over here, and he was telling me about his crazy experience on 28th and 29th Street. And someone hit your car, T-Bone?
Yes, coming from my sister's funeral. Anyway, my name is David Fair from Charles Village Benefit District, Community Benefit District. I'm a community outreach coordinator. When I was speaking to her and I looked at her, I was like, wait a minute. I'm ready to go to court in July for an accident that happened 3 years ago.
Wow.
I was coming from my sister's funeral, going southbound on St. Paul towards my house. And the other individual was going westbound on 29th. Went straight through the red light. And I was able to maneuver without hitting the lamp pole and actually totaled my vehicle.
Oh, wow, I'm so sorry.
And they didn't want to, and I'm still fighting that because he's going to say that the light was broken. Okay, if it's broken, you proceed with caution. But I have a witness, good old L.I. was working on the corner. So he's been, we going to court, so everything's going to work out for us good. So I'm just grateful that me and my wife, we okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
Not the next day though. We was in the bed and couldn't get out, but
sure.
I just thank God. So that was my experience. When I look at it, I say, oh, this is for me.
Thank you for sharing.
Always welcome.
We can do popcorn style if anyone wants to introduce themselves.
I'll go next. My name is Denise, and this is my first time attending the neighborhood meeting.
Welcome.
And wow, where do I begin? I was raised in West Baltimore by Gwynns Falls Parkway near Mondawmin Mall. And after the passing of my mother in 2012, I was her caregiver, I moved to East Baltimore. And I was scared to death, because growing up, it was, oh, you don't go to East Baltimore? Don't you go over there? I'm like, how come? And so that stayed with me as an adult. And when I moved over here, I'm like, well, I don't see anything different. It's not where I live, it's how I live.
Right.
And my field is human and social services. And I said, God, why are you directing me to work in a wellness recovery center? And I am completely clueless of this population. What a wake-up call. What a wake-up call for Denise. I can't speak for anyone else. Because yes, I'm guilty of pointing fingers. And yes, I'm guilty of labeling. And yes, I'm guilty of judging. But when I had to be put in that circumstance, what an eye-opener. When I was assaulted by a student with special needs, and now I'm legally blind in my left eye, what an eye-opener. So, my journey has made me sit down and go within and say, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And so I'm here this evening just to learn the community because I don't know it. And with this disability, I can't let it control me. I have to control it. So I have to put myself in situations that's safe for me when I'm out and about in the community. because I can't live behind my doors. I have to go out there and engage. And it's scary for me. I can't speak for anyone else. It really is. My anxiety kicks off when I have to cross streets and it's traffic and I will ask someone, can you please help me cross? Because I see nothing from my left. So my disability has made me be humble and grateful, and when I need help, to ask. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, because I thought I had it going on. But I'm okay today, because I've learned to deal with my disability, and I came here this evening to just share, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So thank you for letting me share.
My name is Yvonne Fisher. I've lived in Harwood for quite a few years. And I am an ex officio of the organization. And I haven't had anything exciting happen to me this week in the community. I am on the board of the 29th Street Community Center, and there's always exciting things happening here for our children. And we're progressing to begin to do more for community members. We're trying to, through our grant writing, formulate new accessibilities to our seniors and other things. And so if anyone here, I will say, has ideas, please feel free to give them to our executive director. Call the center, because the reason we're here, there's a history. And we were a community center run by the city 12 years ago. And the then mayor decided to shut down community centers. And by our fortitude and our unwillingness to have this center close, we found funding. And we've maintained this center since then. And with the community's help, we hope to do that. We perform a tremendous service for the children that live throughout our community. And I think anyone who's seen what's happening in Baltimore, we know that our children need as much direction and as much love on the periphery of their own lives where they live as possible to help them maneuver the negativities that are happening around them. So my story is nothing happened to me, but I want to bring everybody aware of how much they can help the community center. If you, like I said, if you have an idea about something, you think it might be a formidable idea for us to pursue, I think you should, give that information to our executive director, because we are a community-based organization.
I'm Mike. This is the second one of these I've been to. I guess in terms of transportation and making that safer, I think one thing would be getting the humps back on Guilford. I remember when they were there, and I prefer to have them there just because, there's I would call them illusionary humps there right now, where it looks like there's one, but it's really just drawing on the road. Huh?
What block? Which block?
27.
Yes.
2700 block.
I think they extended all the way down from,
From 2050. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not
They used to go all the way up, so I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
it's never been the 2800 block. It's only been 27, 26, 2500.
okay.
But we never needed it in our blocks.
Yeah. But, people slow down until they realize there's not really a hump there, and then they just treat it as if it's I don't know. Some of the other streets that don't really have it, but I kind of feel like Guilford itself isn't necessarily supposed to be like a main thoroughfare.
Okay, I thought we were just going random.
Sorry.
All right, so what do you have? How do we have more diversity of thought at meetings like these? I'm not sure what that's asking. I figure like a community board meeting will probably attract the same people with similar thoughts. In terms of like people that want to see the community get better. So I'm not sure if we want to get people that don't want the community to be. I don't know. I just think it's good that we all agree to be here to make the community better.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric. I think I primarily talked about the first question with people as well. I think the one thing we talked about was how to make it safer on 20th and 29th, by maybe just like slowing people down. And as far as biking, I feel like, myself included, I feel like it's nicer, it kind of just feels like you want to avoid those. These other ways to get from east to west.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris. I was talking to Franklin and Chad here. They lived in the neighborhood much longer than me, but they said more recently, I thought it was interesting, they've seen kind of a lot of new faces around. Not a good or bad thing, just kind of a statement, and thought it'd be interesting, kind of maybe that plays into later conversation about how we get more people to these things.
I'm Chad. As just mentioned, I've been in the neighborhood since 2009. I think this is the third of these I've been here in that many years, and I probably haven't been since way before COVID. So it was an opportunity to come out to re-engage with the community. And about 28th and 29th, I have to say that I think that it's better now than it was. I find it very annoying because I'm having to stop at every single light. And it used to be that if you ran 50, you made it. And people did it to me. And that was scary, right? And while I'm annoyed at slowing down, it's better that you have to stop all the time because you're not going 50 anymore. People came off the interstate and just kept on going. So, somebody said that's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
I'm SJ. I talked a little bit about the transit system. We talked about how it's nice that the Purple Line is in close proximity to our neighborhood, so there's a free option on the bus.
Yeah, I think you all know how I feel about the traffic on 29th Street. My name's Isaac. I'm the current VP. My son goes here, and so the walk across 20th Street and 29th Street is always one that I am very mindful of. And I will say we did have a good conversation about the transit options. But I will also say that like my experience with and understanding of the transit system is very much built around really only needing access to that north-south corridor. What some of you may know is the white L. And so I understand that our transit options for the Charles Street corridor are tremendous and very helpful and very useful. And the transit options for people who are moving west or east are much more limited. And on one hand, I'm grateful that that's not a struggle I deal with, but on the other hand, I'm mindful of the fact that many of my neighbors, fellow Baltimoreans, have that struggle.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm with BTEC, Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition. I'm here to do a presentation. Thank you so much, Michael, for inviting me and having me here. I'm sorry, do apologize, I'm a little later than I thought I would be, but I am prepared whenever I am. I don't know if I'm on an agenda or not. I think you guys have talked about transportation. We came a little late, so I'm not sure what the question is. If we could just let me know.
We just had people discuss transportation before, so we can get ready to hear you talk.
Okay, awesome. Oh, thank you. So whenever you guys are ready, I'm going to be basically talking about what we're doing to bring infrastructure back into the city and how we're advocating to bring back the Red Line Light Rail project. And then maybe you guys may have some questions for us. We have a petition campaign that we're doing. We did one last year. We have another one this year. And I have some information, and those who would like to sign the petition, I have the petition with me here as well. So whenever you guys would like to have me speak, I'm definitely here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're first on the agenda, just so
Oh,
you know.
that's
So like
right.
after we get this done, if that's all right with you.
That's fine, no, absolutely.
And about how much time do you want
10, 15,
Okay.
whatever you guys can spare, I'll take that, that's fine.
Thank you.
My name is Ben Abney, and I'm a volunteer helping out with Red Line, working hard to bring east-west transportation to the city of Baltimore is very much needed, and we're gonna make sure that happens.
Wait, like the red line? Like the train one?
Oh, right.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to do guerrilla marketing for that for DOT, so when it got shut down, it kind of broke my heart, made me wonder what the hell I was doing for the last 5 years. Okay, hi, I'm Matt. I'm recording this, by the way, for everybody who can't make it to these meetings. What was the one? How do I feel about Baltimore's transit system? Oh, it tries so hard, but it needs so much more. You know, I guess that's all I could really say about it, you know? I mean, how many people would use it more often if they could, if like their employers would go, that's a reliable way to get to work, you know? But yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
And hi everybody, my name is Clea Baumhofer. I work for the Department of Transportation at the city, and I'm here, I'll be talking about our 28th Street project and some of our alternatives, and be collecting some feedback. I don't know, Mike, or do you all have a projector? Otherwise I can just speak.
We don't,
Okay, that's fine.
as far as I know.
Stuff's online, and I can just give as good of a description as possible, and should be fine, so no problem.
Hi, everybody. I'm Councilwoman Odette Ramos. Represent part of the neighborhood. I just live on 31st Street, so I'm super close by as well. This center is also near and dear to my heart. And glad to have the meetings here, and I'm happy to give an update on some things that we're working on in the area whenever appropriate.
I'm Savannah Fisher. I am a Harwood resident. I'm also the treasurer of the Friends of Wyman Park. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. How do I feel about Baltimore transit system? As somebody who takes the Silver almost 5 days a week, I have to say, it's rocking and rolling. It's a pretty solid line if you need to take one downtown. But it would be great to have a lot more northern, east to west bus lines. So, but bring that train in. Woo!
Hi everyone, I'm Allison. This is my second time at a meeting. In terms of transportation, I also like that the purple line is really nearby, but I've never found it reliable. Always kind of use it as a backup. If it's available, would prefer to use it, but it is what it is.
Hello everyone, I am Shaquan Wallace. I am the DOT Community Liaison for Districts 3, 7, 12, and 14. I apologize if I was late. I had a little bit of car trouble, sweated out my hair, and happy that I had the best thing in America.
Hi everyone, I'm Josie. I'm a Harwood resident. We didn't talk about transportation. I'm lucky enough to have a car that I rely on. We talked about funny TikTok videos. So, specifically about the Trump indictment and apologies if I insult anybody here, about Trump supporters wanting to leave the country. And I thought to myself, away party, woohoo, apologies in advance. And then the other thought I had was, I don't know where you're going to move to. And so that's the funny video that I was talking about. And again, apologies if I insult anybody's political views.
Up here, Josie's next door neighbor. Both of us recently moved in. I would say, I grew up in Southern California, so honestly what Baltimore has and the East Coast in general is way more than what LA has. So I guess, I know it's bad, but it's all relative to me. It's all car in LA. You cannot go downtown without a car, or you're going 3 hours on a bus trip that would take 40 minutes or less in car. So to me, it's relatively great. I know there's places that suck, but again, I grew up in Southern California, we had crap. And we still don't have anything, so.
Welcome.
I'm learning
in real time what we're doing here. Yeah, I like the, I guess I would say like snaps for bike more or something, because when I moved here, none of the bike infrastructure existed, and now, I think it's pretty incredible, like the progress they made in 5 years. So, yeah, does that fit into one of these boxes?
Yeah.
All right, great. I'm Brian, I live in Harwood.
All right, thank you everyone for joining in that gathering. Thanks Rebecca for making such a robust opportunity for community building. My name is Daniel, I'm one of the facilitators. My role is to be in service to the agenda, so make sure that we get through everything that we are here to talk about and try to make it out by 8 p.m. I love community building, and for the rest of the time that we do have tonight, we are going to be focused on that agenda. So I want you, just a reminder that one of our community agreements is lean expression, so saying just enough. If I feel like that you are in danger of impeding our flow, then I am going to nip at your heels like a really nice, like, border collie. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page, again, we are being recorded. Bathrooms are out the door to the left. We've had our state or state adjacent actors introduce themselves. We have someone here from DOT and Odette Ramos. Is there any other state actors or police or reporters or anybody else in an official capacity in this room? Lovely. And yeah, throughout this process, like if you feel like you want to pose a question, you're welcome to just jump out there and say it. If it feels like we're going to have a lot of crosstalk, I'll keep what's called a stack. So just raise your hand if you want to say something, and then I'll keep like an order of who's talking next. All right. And then yeah, as we move through the agenda, I'll basically just be kicking it to different people to say their piece on it, and they'll kind of like run that discussion. Hey, go ahead.
Yep, just wanted to say Baltimore City DOT, not MDOT.
Okay, all right. It's an important distinction.
Yeah, very important.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Go ahead.
Is it okay to get some water before, from those water bottles?
Absolutely not. There's also food over here. Take care of your basic needs however you need to. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you wanted to go ahead and present from the Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition.
Okay, again, everyone, my name is Anetta White. I'm going to pass it on my card. If anyone would like to take one, I think I may have enough for everyone. I'm with VTEC. VTEC stands for, and if I'm talking too fast, slow down. If I'm not loud enough, just do that. Sometimes I talk fast, and sometimes I'm not loud enough. Okay, I got that, okay. So VTEC stands for Baltimore Transit Equity Coalition. So what we're doing, we have two main objectives. Two main objectives. We're doing a lot of things, but there's two main. One is to see the completion of the Red Line Light Rail project. And the second one, and the second one is to see the creation of the Baltimore Regional Transportation Authority, which we consider calling a BRTA. So I'm going to talk a little briefly, I guess, about both of them, what we're doing. So for the Red Line Light Rail project, just by show of hands, does everyone know what I'm talking about? So these I don't have to explain that, right? You all know, great, yes, it's East-West Transit Rail, we had the money, the funding was there, then we had one guy, and the governor, at that time, which was Hogan, one person just canceled it from us, returned back $900 million, returned $900 million to the federal government and used that money to do other things that he wanted to do. Baltimore City got nothing and we didn't get our red line. That was in 2015. Fast forward to 2022, we did a petition campaign so that we can get a question on the ballot. And the question on the ballot was for us to determine whether or not the voters of Baltimore City would like to amend the city's charter so that we can create a regional transportation authority. Had we had a regional transportation authority, we would be able to make decisions like bring the red line ourselves. We can directly ask for funding from the federal government so we can do that, and we'll have regional control over transportation, unlike what we have now. Another problem that we have now that we won't have then is oversight. So right now, MDOT NTA does not have oversight, and they have very little to no accountability. So they're basically doing what they want. That's a problem. We haven't been serviced well. And I'm not just me talking, but I think everyone may have a story here or there about a horror story with them in public transportation. So we're trying to change that, and we're trying to do things regionally. We can't do it. We're kind of sort of leading the march on it. We need everyone to kind of come together and vote for this, but before we can get it voted, it has to be on the ballot. So how do you get it on the ballot? By doing a petition campaign. Well, we tried that. Last year, we did a petition campaign. We only need 10,000 petition signatures in order for valid petition signatures in order for our question to get on the ballot. We ended up doing 15,000 petition signatures. Our question still did not get on the ballot. So you would think, well, what happened to that? Well, why not? Well, you know, they said that we were short about 300 and something petitions, which we had evidence in our favor to show that we weren't short the petitions and that we did have enough. And so they're still, believe it or not, even though this happened last year, they're still kind of dealing with this in litigation. So that's not anything that I can talk about, but we're still trying to get our rightful due last year. But we're not waiting for that. So we're doing this petition campaign over again. So this time, our goal is 20,000 petitions. So we're going over and beyond. We need everyone's help. I'm going to all community associations around the city. I'm trying to really bring everyone together to let them know, one, this is happening, two, why this is such an important thing. I tell people, the biggest thing right now in Baltimore City is transportation. There is nothing else in this city right now that has a price tag of $4 billion but the red line. That's huge. And that's infrastructure that we need, that we've been wanting to have, that we desperately, it's been well overdue, and we had an opportunity to get this project to come to the city, and one guy said no. So we're back at it again. We're out here again. You'll see us at marketplaces. I think it's around here, 32nd Street Marketplace. With Waverly close by. Okay, sorry. We're going to be, matter of fact, this Friday we'll be there. I'll be there, you know, collecting petition signatures. We're going to be at the Baltimore Market, you know, JFX under Joan Parker. We'll be there, and we're trying to reach more places and more people, more areas where people commune, so that we can let people know what we're doing and get involved. I do have petitions with me today. Our website is moretransit.equity.com. If you guys have never seen the red line, we have an assimilator video, which is the proposed route. It's so cool if you've never seen it. It's about 17 minutes. But as soon as you go to our website, well, we have a retreat coming in April, but the next slide after the retreat, you can click the video and it would show you the route. So the red line, if you guys remember, is going to start in Woodlawn, around the Centers of Social Security Administration building, and it's going to go all the way through the city to John Hopkins Bayview, and even a little bit more sort of into Dundalk. It's going to kind of make like a little turn there back into the county. But you can see this video, we have it on our website, and it shows you the travel path. It also shows you the development that's going to happen along the way, which is what we really want and what we really need. So I'm here just to let you guys know that we're at this again. Please join us, please help us. We have a petition campaign that you can join and you can volunteer. We can connect you. We'll let you know when there's volunteer opportunities. If you want to say, hey, what can I do besides sign a petition? I'll let you know. There's a lot more you can do besides sign a petition. Those that really want to get this going, we just really need the support. I'm also here to answer questions, and I'm in District 14. It's so nice to see you out there, Ramos. I want to tell you guys something about District 14. I'm so glad I'm here. You guys actually are the #1 in terms of, when we did our petition campaign last year, what we did was we took all of the petition signers and we sorted them out through district. And District 14 has the most people that have signed our petition. Being right in the front of, wow, you know, you're speaking up, and this is just what and we did this random, like there was no, you know, and District 14 was #1 on the list, so a lot of people here.
Is it still coming up on Boston Street, like emerging from underground?
I don't know any changes. I'm not sure about any changes. And it's not definite, and it's still, you know,
So
so
that's
we
good.
still
Do a
have
little
so
bit
many
more
more planning.
Okay,
to do.
we're
Like,
recycling, okay.
It's
cool.
gonna probably be based on a lot of a lot of work, a lot of money was spent, a lot of studies were done. There was a lot of work that was done. But there's a lot of changes, there was some opposition, and that was one of them, the bosses.
I was gonna say, if you need somebody to get yelled at by some Canton nibbies, I'll do that.
And yes, yesterday, not yesterday, last week, we were at, a No Boundaries Coalition event, and he was from Canton, and I asked him, would he like to sign a petition? And he started fussing with me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, why from Canton going to sign this petition? So there is opposition, there's a lot of support, but you never would have 100% of anything. So you're gonna have people that want it, people that don't. But I think overall throughout the city, most people really want to see something different and want to see something better. And this thing is like done. We just really need to get some things in place. So the petition campaign, the creation of a BRTA, and that will allow us to create our regional. Now regional, so it's not just Baltimore City, it's Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, Harford County, and Anne Arundel. So that's the region that we're gonna have at the table for transportation decisions. But right now, it's just one organization, well, one agency, I like to call it, which is MDOT. This way, it's a, you know, we're doing this here, us. So it's not just one, you know, no oversight group. It's all of us. That's what we're trying to do. Yes, ma'am.
How long is this project going to be in terms of start to finish?
Oh, the red line. I don't want to quote because I'm not sure, but it's going to take years. I would say 7, 8. It's going to take many years to actually, from start to finish. It's going to take many years. It's going to create. Now, we do have some evidence on job creation. We do have, you know, some 10,000 jobs. So it's going to create a lot of jobs. We're trying to get a lot of those jobs to be local jobs. And I know we're going to have people from other areas, but we are, you know, trying to make sure that we have a certain number of those jobs fulfilled by people that live in Baltimore City. We're supporting having job creation as everybody else. So we do want some local, but time frame, yes, it's going to be several years.
No, I remember earlier, when the earlier discussion came out, it was like a 10-year plan. So I just wondered if they found a new magic bullet.
Yeah, are you specifically advocating for rail, or are you open to BRT options as well that are kind of being studied right now?
What was the last part? DOT options?
The BRT, the bus.
No,
the train
no
options.
bus, only rail. We're talking, no more buses. Not enough buses. No more buses. And so why is that? Because rail, so development follows rail, not bus. So once they start putting in rails, then that's when we're gonna start seeing some more economic development. It doesn't follow bus. So long as they keep giving us bus, we'll keep getting what we have. We have to do rail.
I disagree with you, just.
Okay, that's okay, that's okay.
I mean, there is evidence that BRT does bring development, and I think just in terms of trying to get as much transit as possible for the city, there is value in going for a BRT option, which is not just standard bus, and that way we can get, you know, maybe more routes for $4 billion than just the one. But that's my opinion. And I fully support the regional organization you're trying to create. I think that would be a great addition.
Awesome, thank you, thank you.
We'll keep it stacked. There was a question over here. And then,
Is it in response to what? Yeah. For the BRT option, are they looking at like, you know, environmentally friendly buses, or are they sticking with the bus quality that we have now?
Well, in terms of the service, it would be in a dedicated lane. You would have kind of better stations, and there would be a whole more rail-like services. In terms of like the actual like diesel versus electric, if you're, I don't think they've made that decision yet, but I think by the time they get to there, surely it would be an electric bus because that's where everyone's going anyway. So.
How do we find information on that as well?
There is, MTA is doing a study called the East-West Corridor Study. There's a website, they've done a whole bunch of evaluation and study on it. Yeah.
I was just wondering about, like how rail specifically, can like answer questions around increasing equity in Baltimore.
By having rail, how can they increase equity?
Or like maybe more so than bus. but just in general as well.
So I won't say I'm the expert in any of this. I may not give you as much as you may want, but I know that if you look at other projects, you know, that have rail, that's when you start seeing development. That's when you start seeing businesses kind of want to start sort of forming around, you know, then you start seeing new apartments coming. That's when you begin to start seeing the development, is when they lay rail tracks. For buses, no, we have buses now, we don't have any development, but I know there's been plenty of studies that's been done to show that when you have, as a matter of fact, if you go to our website, we did a speaker series with Chris, I think his name is Lindbergh. He's under Redline. So we are different categories. If you go under Redline and you scroll down, there's a YouTube, it was a speaker series that he did with our president, Samuel Jordan. It's an excellent series. He talks about all the different, how transportation is kind of sort of like all around this region, and some other regions we could look at, like Washington DC, and how they've done and how they're just merging so well in transportation. And he really gives a really depth in like study and look, and that may really help answer more questions than you have.
Yeah,
But
can
it's
you,
excellent.
can I ask you, like, or could you tell me what the link is and I can share it to the organization later?
Oh, okay, sure. No problem.
Thank you.
That's nice, thank you.
We are feeling pretty close on time, so I saw a hand here and a hand there. Y'all want to fight over it?
I was just gonna say that these aren't, like, bus and rail aren't mutually exclusive options to improve, and like cities should be made for people moving around and not for cars moving around, and I think we're good to move on.
Okay, also, if anybody wants to join me after the meeting, I'll be renewing my curse and hex on Larry Hogan's name.
I'll say it, Larry Hogan.
Gotta keep that fresh. Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation, and also just for all your really hard grassroots organizing work that you're doing.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
We do that while this
Okay. Yep, and next we're just gonna have the Baltimore City DOT present. So while this petition is going around, please give them your attention.
I'll start off. On March 1st, we had a public meeting that was on WebEx, and unfortunately we had some technical difficulties along with a very overwhelming turnout of more than 200 people and only 4 of us from DOT decided to hold that meeting. So unfortunately we had to end it. So we are trying to make sure that we do outreach and connect with the communities by going to each of them individually. So thank you for having us here tonight. And I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Clea Baumhofer to give us the presentation.
She's gonna sign that first.
Oh,
I got it. No, we've already signed this first.
Can I mention one thing?
Oh, yes.
If you guys don't want to sign right now, that's okay. Just take a petition or so home with you. You can have yourself and your wife or husband to sign, or friends and families later, because you have to enter your address, and sometimes it's sensitive, you know what. That's okay, just take a blank sheet with you. Just wanted to mention that, and that's okay. And you can mail it into us, if that's okay.
So just to go into what DOT is talking, well, first of all, thanks for all that you're doing. I'm a firm believer in the Regional Transit Authority. And now we have a governor who will help us with this, I think. So I'm very happy about it, and thank you for all that you're doing. And then Baltimore City DOT is going around to each of the community associations that asked them to come, but also around the corridor. So many of you talked about the 28th and 29th Street corridor. It's obviously something that's important to everybody. So they're going to talk about a specific project and then answer those questions, and then we can go into any other things you have on.
Fantastic. Yeah, so again, my name is Clea Baumhofer. I'm an engineer supervisor with the traffic division within DOT. So some of my team has been working on this project on 28th, which it came about sort of trying to look at 28th Street with a complete streets focus and prioritizing biking and walking along the corridor, sort of acknowledging that it is also a residential corridor, and looking at promoting safety for all modes and connecting along the existing bicycle network. There's the big jump over the 20th Street Bridge to the park, and then connecting over to the Maryland cycle track that is existing. And so that's a little bit on the background. We're also partnered with GRIA on this project. They want a grant for about half of the project funds, and from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. So they are providing about half the funding, and DOT is providing about half the funding. So now I'll just go in a little bit, sort of the options we're looking at. So existing on 28th, as everyone I'm sure is very aware, currently we have 2 travel lanes and parking on both sides. And it can, of course, be a high-speed corridor. So we're looking at a couple options along the corridor. Alternative 1 is a road diet, which, and the limits of this specific project is Sisson to Maryland. Oh yeah, thanks Shakota. I know it's tiny, and I do have a paper copy, and if folks want to hang out later, I can show the images like a little bit more later as well. But so it would be converting down to 1 lane and maintaining 2 lanes of parking, and then having a protected 2-way cycle, scooter, mobility chair facility curbside on the southern curb. So some of the, you know, we did also do some traffic analysis in addition to our other sort of safety look at the corridor, and under this single lane, it is possible to maintain what is considered still within the standard, like acceptable intersection functionality and throughput for a level of service traffic analysis. There are a few intersections where we would be looking at turn lanes, most importantly at Harwood Street. So there would be 2 lanes specifically at Harwood Street, since it's the highest volume intersection along that stretch. And we're also considering a turn lane at Huntington Ave as the next highest volume. Yes.
So I guess this doesn't actually do anything in our neighborhood. So could you explain why you're not just gonna do like the whole stretch at the same time? Because it seems like it's just confusing. It seems like it would be more disruptive to move from 1 lane to more lanes, or, you know, and back again than to just knock it out.
No, that's a fair question, and we certainly are looking at this as a potential phased approach. If I'm being completely honest, you know, we are always resource limited at DOT, and so we are putting in this phase 1 as the first time the connection. We will definitely be monitoring and looking at what a phase 2 would look like to extend. Probably, yeah, depending on, you know, just making sure it's functioning as desired, putting together the funds for a phase 2, and doing out, you know, making sure it is desired.
So there's hope for the whole stretch.
There is hope.
Okay.
What have you done to get community familiar with this process? Because if I'm not mistaken, this was done like 4 or 5 years, started about 3 years ago. Is this the same project that they have started times before?
So, to my knowledge, this is a separate project or new. I don't believe that these exact alternatives have ever been proposed before. I've only been with DOT since 2020, so I don't know exactly what would have been proposed before, but I would be pretty surprised if this exact plan had ever been proposed before.
No, because at the Civic Association event, they did introduce a project similar to that about 4 years ago. And I was just wondering, are these similar? Is this totally different? And how have you, again, introduced the community to this project? And what is the community input?
That's a great question. We've been doing a series of meetings. We had our first kickoff sort of DOT hosted, and then we've been going to each individual community association meeting. And this may be our last stop, or there may be one more stop, but we're trying to wrap up the comment period this week. The formal deadline is today. I will say, so try to, but I mean, realistically, our emails are open, but so yeah, we've been, in terms, I mean, we've really put a lot of time and effort into the outreach on this project, because it is significant, yes.
I think people's concerns is with the speed of the traffic also, so is that something that's gonna be considered? Because it is also a school zone, and the speed limit is 30 over there, and there's other places in the city where it's 25. And even that 5 miles difference causes a major difference where somebody live or die, just because of that extra 5 miles an hour. So is that a part of the project, the speed limit?
29, right?
On 29, 28, on 28 specifically.
Yeah, it's at the 29th of Barclay, just cross points.
Yes, right.
Right there.
So, and I guess I assume that you're speaking more specifically
Here.
like right out here.
Yeah.
So that would not be specifically part of this literal project, but we are taking a look generally more at our school zones, and taking a look at speeds through our school zones.
Can I say it's kind of weird? It's just me. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. It's kind of weird that there's a 25 miles per hour in a lot of places in the city, but around the school it's 30. It makes no sense.
Right.
Like, I don't know if it's just me.
No.
It's just
No.
weird as hell.
No,
Like,
right, I mean, so.
and if it doesn't sit, if you don't feel uneasy about that, that's a problem.
Yeah, that, we had a speed camera on 28th Street before, and it wasn't doing as well as we liked because the speed limit was too high, right? So, so the DOT was not able to, before last year, DOT was not able to change speed limits without a big study, a big engineering expensive study. Last year, we got a legislation passed in the General Assembly that allows us flexibility in that regard. So I think that we'll take this back and see if we can't get the speed limit lowered, obviously by schools. St. Paul's the same way near Market-Bryant. And, you know, on some of these major corridors, they haven't been enforcing that either.
I hear that, but just as a sidebar, right? How is it possible? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. How is it possible for a conversation about speed limit in the entire city to be, okay, we need it to be 25 in these areas, and there's tons of places where it's 25. But then by the school right here, maybe it's because of the neighborhood, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but whatever it is, at a minimum, it should be at least, you know what, citywide is 25.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I'm glad that you brought that up, so we'll take that back, because I think the one piece did hinder us in terms of being able to have to do a big study, and now that we don't have to do that. And like Leah said, they're working on looking at speed cameras and speed limits around all of our schools.
And I'll just say, if there is speed enforcement on the corridor, it does still require a more extensive traffic study, to reduce speed limits. You know, I think,
I mean,
I
I
think
wouldn't
for the punitive, I think to avoid like a punitive, sense, but,
we have a double problem here. We've had a child that was just hit, about 5 weeks ago, because someone was crossing over Greenmount Avenue. We had a light, what do you call those cameras, and it was removed.
You had a crossing guard?
No, we don't have a crossing guard, because she was hit and has, in a hospital. I mean, she's out of the hospital now. But we had a camera that was right before Barker, and it was removed. And there's no way anyone can tell me, as a community person who's lived here, that people weren't speeding all the time between Greenmount and Barker. I mean, you can stand there on any given day.
Oh, yes.
And watch people speed. So here we are, have a prohibitive mechanism, I don't even know if it ever worked, to prevent people from doing that when there is a school within a block.
There was
And
a,
it's
the
been
camera,
moving, and now you're talking about a different system, which I'm not familiar with. I mean, it's kind of convoluted as far as I'm concerned, what you're telling me.
I'm with you.
And it doesn't, I don't have a young child anymore, I did, and he did not go to Berkeley, but regardless, he was a child in the community, and I think studies like this have to be exclusively inclusive
Yes.
of the community on the language and on the progress. That's why I asked you, was this similar to what they talked about a few years ago? Because people were totally against it a few years ago. And that was part of traffic calming and all that. But that's why I asked you, was this similar? Because I haven't heard anything about it, and I'm active, and I'm part of the benefits district, and we haven't discussed it. So that's why I was asking the question.
So I'm seeing I'm seeing a few new hands. I want to make sure, did you get your question answered though?
Yeah, no, but that's okay.
I saw a hand over here and here. We haven't heard from either of y'all this evening, so.
So to clarify, this proposed traffic diet or whatever it's called is only between Citizens and Maryland. What was it looked into to be further, or was there like a? This is only phase one, okay.
So this project specifically, it was ended at Maryland because that is the cycle track, so it is a natural connection. I do understand you all are not, we're here because it's near enough, it will affect your community, but we understand you're not receiving the direct safety benefits of it. We are, looking at the light timings in further here and in combination with this installation. And as I said, and I would also love to come back another time and just, talk a little bit more about, Harwood specifically, but, yeah.
And I did record those concerns as well.
Did you want to go next?
I just wanted to ask real quick, 28th Street coming off 83, there's a sign, speed limit of 30, I don't think it's a school zone, it's not labeled as such, but would this zone include that, because that's just before Assistant Street is the sign, so would that light be within the zone that you're talking about, or that camera?
There's already a camera there as you come off of 83.
Yeah,
They just
but
put
that's
that in
before
recently.
Assistant Street, or that's after?
It's after Assistant Street.
Okay, so it's within the zone that you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're making a lot of money off of it.
Is there anybody else?
No, go ahead. And we're just gonna take like maybe one more question because we need to move on.
Okay, also I wanna say there is an alternative too, which is 2 travel lanes and only 1 parking lane.
And no cyclist lane?
And still a cycle track, in the parking lane, and then it would have like a buffer, like a curb stop and flex post buffer.
No more of those flex posts, please. Those are such a blight on the whole city. They get ruined in 6 months.
Unfortunately, they're an extremely affordable option.
You get what you pay for though.
They will be in combination with the curb stop, which curb stops alone are generally not quite visible enough, so, kind of
The flex posts are important because, we can get more traffic calming done, and then we can see if it works. If it doesn't work, we rip it up, and it doesn't cost us anything. If I put concrete everywhere, or we put concrete everywhere, then we're stuck with it, right? Like that crazy bike lane along Mount Royal where like it was, no, right? So I get and understand that flex posts are not the most aesthetically pleasing, but they help us in the short term, and then if we can, once we get more capital, we advocated for a lot more money recently from the state, which we're getting, and then we can look and see if these things are working. The other thing in some of these intersections is you can make them look better by putting in the mural that's on the street, or planters, or things like that. So there's definitely ways to, I hear you, I totally get it. It's just that, otherwise we wouldn't have all the traffic coming that we have.
They just went so crazy with them on North Central Avenue.
So I just want to jump in and say, we have like one more question to answer, and if you do want to ask, just raise your hand. Sorry.
Okay, can I ask my question?
Yes, go ahead.
It's actually just a thought. So one thing I noticed when I was living in San Francisco is that they have traffic lights that are timed so that when you go at a certain speed, you can hit each light at that speed. And psychologically what that does is it makes people comfortable riding at that speed because they know they're going to be constantly at that speed. And I think one of the reasons why people are going really fast is because they're like, oh shit, I gotta make this light or else I'm gonna be waiting 5 minutes to go through all these terrible traffic lights that don't account at all for where the cars are in the road. It's frustrating when there's no traffic at all on the other side, and it makes you race. It's I need to fucking make this light. So I think if you wanna, I hear that you don't wanna do punitive measures. So I'm thinking one way to do a less punitive approach would be to have traffic lights that are in flow with the speed limit of 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, and I will say, one piece of great news, we just kicked off a citywide signal retiming effort. It is a 3-year project. It is a 3-year project, so and phased, and just by happenstance, it's kind of going south and then through downtown and to the north. But that, I absolutely agree, and we will be looking at
how to make those traffic lights with speed limits.
Right, exactly, a flowing green with the speed limit.
That way it's rewarding you for going that slow.
There's also the tighter timing too, so not making the light too long.
Okay.
Right, so instead of, what is it now, 110 seconds, it would be, half of that.
Okay.
So, I'm not an engineer, he will tell you exactly what's going on. But, anyways, so light timing.
Okay, cool.
I have not heard from you. You got our last question.
No, go ahead.
I think it's just a real fast question.
Is it a question or a statement?
Yes. Why is, what's the benefits of having it be 30 miles an hour compared to having it be 25? And who does 30 miles an hour benefit in the community in general? Because it has to be somebody saying, hey, I need it to be 30 for it to be so that there's a system in place to keep it 30.
I would say so. A lot of our speed limits have been set for a long time. They've been in place for many, many years. And as the councilwoman noted, we only just gained the ability to reduce them, and we are looking at what our standards will be for citywide, taking a look and systematically looking at where they need to be reduced.
So can I help you with that? And I think the answer to your question is that before this law was passed that gives flexibility, you had to have a very intensive traffic study before you could make a change.
Okay.
Because what was in the past was law, and the only way to change that was to do with studies.
Okay.
And there's more flexibility now, so there are more options, but asking
The other-
why you can't do this is.
The other factor is that these corridors were, right, and we are trying to reduce that, pass-through. So Charles Village, same thing. Calvert Street, St. Paul, you're getting a lot more traffic on Guilford because Charles Street going south is closed, so they're moving over. But anyway, so the thinking is totally different now at DOT and at the city. Before it was, how can we get people the quickest from A to B? From the county to downtown. I'm just being frank with you, okay?
Yes.
And from 83 to East Baltimore, okay? So that thinking is different now. The thinking is, how do we get people from A to B the safest, okay? And how do we make sure that pedestrians can go from A to B the safest, okay? But let me just tell you, this is relatively new thinking in the city, okay? I know. So we have a new ordinance that was signed in 2020. Yeah, the Complete Streets Ordinance, which says that if you're doing resurfacing or if you're like University Parkway, that whole change at University Parkway was triggered by the Complete Streets law. It had to go through resurfacing, so let's see if we can get a bike facility, let's see if we can slow it down, all of that, okay? So this is all, and then DOT's thinking is, as a department, is also different. So they've hired a lot of new people with this new thinking in mind. So I totally get it, like, why is this happening? So we're in that process, and I'm glad you brought it back up to our attention around the 30 miles an hour so that we can think about what's the best way to reduce that, especially in school zones. And apparently, getting people from north to south was more important than whether or not our kids were safe, right? I mean, I'm getting it.
Yes.
So, so that, because like I said, Margaret Brent on St. Paul Street in Calvert was the same thing. So it's, so we're gonna get there. We're absolutely gonna get there, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Those aren't even all the variables. There's still like making sure the buses run on time with all of this stuff happening.
Oh,
Like,
that's
there's
right.
there's such a
That's
matrix of the
true.
stuff that they have to figure out.
That's very true.
And I just want to advocate that there's some of the most well-intentioned, hardworking people at DOT who really want to make these things happen for you, but they have to answer to fucking everybody. Right? So just a little bit of grace for that.
Understatement.
Yeah.
All right, thank you to Baltimore City DOT for fielding questions.
Hang out over here at the end for anyone who wants to see the alternatives like button next to each other.
Dan Chiquetta is your liaison generally. You can email her, not related to any project, as she'll bring it back to my team of engineers, just in general, all the time, so.
Yes, and I've included my email, and I'm so new that I don't have accounts yet because I only joined the OT at the end of last year. Woo, welcome.
Just want to say a couple things really quickly. Obviously, this is a high priority issue. This is great. The other thing we do try to prioritize is respect for time. We have about 10 minutes. Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you. We probably have time for maybe 2 or 3 priority items.
Sure.
Do you want to just sort of highlight a few items really quickly, and then
I can nail some of mine real quick to get them out of the way. So finance, we talked about needing a fiscal sponsor. We found one. Waverly Improvement Association will be our fiscal sponsor.
District 14.
Yeah. Also, we need a place for the Harwood Community Association materials to live. So we have a bucket full of neighborhood association materials that have been passed on from president to president for generations. And so lately they've come to Hannah and I, our house, we live with a bunch of people. We don't have actually a closet or basement. And so if anybody has a closet or basement, we have a bucket of neighborhood association materials. We'd love if somebody wants to be like the keeper of the materials.
We'll do it because we already have a sign from Russell, so.
With great enthusiasm,
Yeah.
Ainsley.
I didn't mean like that. I'm just saying we have to think from Russell.
Thank you so much. Perfect. That's it for those two items. We can move at a regular pace for another item.
I just have a super quick question. When does your fiscal sponsorship take effect?
We are not, we're not in a race, so it's, in late fall, it ends with our present one, and sometime between now and then, so probably not extremely soon.
Okay.
Samantha, do you want to report back for dumpster day?
Yeah, sure. Dumpster day was a resounding success, even though. Yeah, we had the dumpster out there bright and early at 7 a.m. in the pouring rain. George Stacey, is a neighbor of ours who lives right in front of where the dumpster was placed, and he was out there helping out like a true champion. Gonna recruit him for the rest of the dumpster days.
Totally.
Because he was, man, our fearless leader. He was directing everybody what not to put in there and what to put in there, and had a whole plan for it. So, yeah, absolute props to George. It was, unfortunately, a fifth of it or a third of it was filled by 7:30 because a contractor followed the dumpster. So that's one of the things that we're gonna try to keep in mind for next time. Lauren of Jubilee Baltimore came out with some pamphlets and stuff. We were able to get a few legacy neighbors some information about like legacy housing stuff. We did do some alleyway cleanup, thankfully, or thanks to the Charles Village Community Benefits District and DPW. Actually have some trash pickers and gloves for our next one. And then Charles Village Community Benefits District, they brought us a bunch of push brooms and wheelbarrows, so we were able to do the 2 T's right along where the dumpster was placed. So we have a couple more alleys to look at next time, and fingers crossed it'll be sunny. Yeah, there's coffee and apples and stuff, and yeah, met some nice people, so.
Yeah,
Sweet.
good job.
Thank you. Yeah, you really can do it. It was like a really good event. Earth Day's coming up, so if we do that.
Yeah, so just really quickly, the Harwood Community Garden, which is not technically part of the Harwood Community Association, but we're all the same people. We're doing an Earth Day event. We have a very cool archway that was commissioned, and we're doing the grand opening on Earth Day. We're gonna do a 2 to 4 p.m. We will be putting out information. The other great thing, I hope you don't mind if I just drop the word, the Community Association here is actually also doing an Earth Day week, the whole week leading up to it. They won't be doing any events on Saturday, so if you have other things you want to do, or if you want to, come down to the garden, check the garden out, that'll be great. But they're going to have special speakers on Monday. They're going to do a community cooking class on Tuesday, family sip and paint on Wednesday, movie night. They're going to be watching the Lorax on Thursday, and then they're going to do a garden cleanup and family carnival. They have their community garden right here. You can never have too many community gardens. So support them, support us. We are all in this together, and we're not competing, which is fantastic. We are happy to put out more information. So you'll be hearing more. We'll have a flyer. We'll let you all know. But it's going to be really great. And think about, putting it on your calendar. 2 p.m. Saturday the 22nd. Just a couple weeks away.
Where is all of this, the information about all the events posted?
All of the information on this community center is on their website. You can actually just go to the community center's website for that, and then we will be we haven't put together the formal agenda for our Saturday reveal, but we'll be doing that within the next week.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thank you.
That's probably a good segue into, do you want to update us on technology stuff, Rebecca?
Yeah, so I made a Slack. Some people joined. I still don't have everybody's contact. Not everybody has a phone. Not everybody knows how to use their phone. Not everybody has a computer, etc. So it's not the best fix or to get everybody all the information about these meetings. But if you wanna join Slack, if you wanna figure out how to get that on your phone, just come and talk to me after this meeting and I'll add you onto it. It's just a place where we'll give you updates about when things are happening and how to volunteer, and also like links about things that we talked about in the meeting if you wanna get more information.
I ask why that's not on the website, or from the website to Slack?
We have not updated the website yet. It's just,
Yeah.
it's that.
The arm that I'm working on is just like getting
Okay, just asking.
the
It
Slack.
will be.
Because I was looking about agendas and minutes and stuff. and-
Mhm. There is, yeah, I mean, I can show you how to put on your phone, but through Slack, we all have all the meeting minutes attached and like all the agenda notes attached, so.
And so would somebody like to put that onto a thing for us real soon? Is there, I know that there's an interest in people having access to the meeting minutes right away, and I want that to come out fast too. Would anybody be interested in plopping that stuff up on the website? We can, if anybody wants to. Cool.
Well, if you
so
wanna
working on
talk
it.
about technology, talk to me.
We do need someone who has some website knowledge. If you
Yeah, I
are-
can't do that,
Are
sorry.
interested to help us update the website.
What's the website run?
WordPress.
Is it,
It's a word, yeah.
It's pretty, it's just HTML. I just have some time.
Okay.
Yeah, like the website being revamped has been something that's kind of been in need of extra support from other people who aren't already doing a bunch of things, like Isaac. So if you have that energy and time, then please apply that.
Yeah. And you can email any of the people who are on the board, so, or, yeah.
Is there anything else?
I just had a couple of updates.
Yep.
Okay, got some Odates. Is that it? Okay.
Evaluation.
What?
Evaluation too at the end.
Oh yeah, so we are gonna just like do a quick go around at the end for just like what worked about the meeting, what didn't. But we'll hear from Odette first.
Yeah, hi everybody. So a lot of you were concerned about the building on the 2700 block of Green Mound. We were able to get the owner to knock down the part that was falling down so that it wouldn't fall down. They are still obligated to do a lot of work, obviously, on that building. So that's on the 14th District side. So we'll continue to monitor that situation, but for now, the bricks are not falling on people. So that was super scary, I have to tell you. So we were able to take care of that right away, but they do need to do something with that building, or we're gonna knock down all 3 of the buildings. So that Department of Housing and Community Development is working to hold them accountable, otherwise we will knock those down.
Were they residential or commercial buildings, or what are they, just
The commercial buildings.
Okay, so they're commercial buildings.
They had past tense, apartments on the top and some commercial on the bottom, which is allowed, in the commercial zone.
Weren't they recently sold?
Excuse me?
Weren't they recently sold?
They were recently sold, and it was to this guy who's
Okay.
did the bad thing with the building, yes.
So I just want to make sure, I knew they were sold, I just wondered why this person wasn't being obligated to fix the building.
Yeah, so we're
Those buildings in the condition they were in, they weren't, this is not new.
correct. So they bought the buildings in the condition they were in, they made it worse. And so, so we're working with DHCD to hold them accountable because it's a bad situation. I mean, we're trying to do a lot of work on that block and get down a couple of other buildings on the 2600 block that need to come down. I'm not a knock down everything kind of person, but there is one that really needs to come down, okay? So that's, I think, the biggest thing that we have. One thing to note that we hopefully will be able to invite CSX at one of these meetings, because Guilford and 26th Street is going to be closed sometime this fall or next spring to increase the height of their bridge underneath there, okay, of CSX, because they need to double stack, all right? So there's 4 main intersections that they will have to close down, 1 in my district and 2 in the 12th, 3 in the 12th. that to increase the height. And the one on Guilford is gonna be completely closed, and it's gonna be closed for a long time, for at least a year.
Are they gonna close Green Mountain?
So they're not gonna close Green Mountain, they're not gonna close Green Mountain, isn't that weird? I guess it's already deep enough, they're closing, Harford Road on mine, Harford and 25th, which I'm not happy about. So they're not gonna close it all the way, but it is gonna be a mess. The other one is North End, and Howard Street. So, they are gonna start doing their, outreach meetings in May, so if I can make sure that they are connected with you all, so that you know exactly I know that the, Charles Village folks are also working on this, and so just wanted to make sure everybody knew, that is, the CSX thing is coming, cause it's affecting 12 and 14 as well, in terms of our districts. And then I have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Mondays, if anybody's interested, I have my cards. You can get news about what's going on in the district, what's going on in the city, and my opinion on stuff. And things that we're also working on. And I actually met with Housing Secretary Day today, the new secretary for Maryland DHCD. As you know, my biggest thing that I've been working on is housing issues, and particularly around dealing with vacants. So we are hatching a plan, and it's going to be great. So I'm excited about the opportunities that we have for our city, particularly around addressing that major crisis issue. I introduced a bunch of legislation recently on it as well, so I have a website. You can look at all that on my website. The land bank, yes, the land bank. We introduced that a couple weeks ago, to really focus on the issue of addressing vacant properties, so the acquisition disposition authority, and doing it with community input and community driven. And that works, it's been working in 200 cities and states, in parts of other states across the US, so we're gonna try it here, and I know it'll work. So happy to talk about that more another time, given the time.
Dumb question, what is CSX, what is that tunnel?
Oh, I'm so
No
sorry.
idea, I'm just like
Sure.
Googling and I'm finding some
Sure,
Google
so
article.
there are two major railways that go through our city. One is Amtrak.
Yeah.
And the MARC train goes along the Amtrak tracks. CSX is cargo. So they, you all heard about the coal pile that they actually, put the coal on the boat, and they put the coal in the middle of Curtis Bay, and then it blows everywhere. The cargo that they go through on 25th Street, sometimes it's like crates of just stuff that people sell, it's cars, it's, that kind of thing.
And they're redoing that whole tunnel, I'm assuming? or-
They are not, they have to raise the level so that we can do double stacking, because the harbor could be a lot more lucrative, for Baltimore and for our region, if we're able to move more stuff quickly. And not by truck or by bus or anything like that, by rail, is much quicker. And in this case, because it's going down most of the way and then coming up, now we did have a crisis with CSX, many of you remember, when 26th Street pretty much fell over. And that was bad, that was terrible. Part of the project on Guilford is also to shore up the surrounding walls, so that does not happen again. So that was terrible. I was living on 27th Street at the time, so it was very close to us.
Stacked up behind Journal Park.
Yeah, well, that's also sad, right, because they didn't put back some of the original stone as well. But anyway, so it's cargo that comes through here. You can ask them specifically when they what exactly it is, but it's, again, it's cars, it's anything that comes from the harbor and then gets shipped to other pieces in the US.
And I'm guessing the whole Amtrak renovation thing has nothing to do with the whole, I know they're renovating, that's only solely Penn Station, or will that also extend to the rails?
So I'm just gonna jump in and say you can ask that question after our meeting has ended. We are over 8 p.m., so I failed you.
That was my fault, it wasn't your fault.
I prefer physical punishment. We are over time, though. Generally, we end the meeting going around and saying like what worked well and what could be improved. What are people's thoughts? Do you have the patience to do that for about 5 minutes, or do we want to close? Go ahead, Isaac.
I just want to voice apologies for us showing up late. you don't have to tell us, we know about that, and we will make a better effort to start on time next week. So we can certainly skip complaints about lateness because we are well aware and very apologetic.
I'm gonna beat up Isaac after the meeting, just to hold him accountable.
We're gonna, it's sort of a, I gotta punish him.
Yeah.
My fault for the beginning, his for the end.
But yeah, do people want to do a quick evaluation go around? Is that cool? Or are you like, okay. So if you want to just share something that worked well or something that you feel like didn't work well, and please focus on being as curt as possible. And we can go popcorn style, so go ahead.
I'll just say, it would have been nice to have a projector for the alternatives, just to see the image nicer, but,
Cool, thank you.
It's popcorn.
Oh, I was just gonna apologize for breaking stat a couple of times because I was so excited about DOT, but I respect your job and I will make an effort to not do that again.
I'm gonna give you.
Okay.
Go ahead, did you want to go?
Sure, mine's really minor, but if we just move these tables to the other side, it might make it easier to be a bit of a circle. This line is really hard to see.
I was just gonna say, very respectful dialogue, it's wonderful when we all work together.
I want to say I like the fact that it feels like a conversation. And that's always good, and that people are kind of happy and smiling. It doesn't feel like a meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate that you sent out the agenda beforehand. That was
Maybe a quicker icebreaker.
Yeah, on that note, yeah, sorry about that. And I feel like a little bit more lean expression would have been good as well.
Other folks, suggestions, comments?
Is this the biggest meeting we've, I'm sorry.
This is a great meeting, good.
Is this the biggest meeting we've had so far, numbers? No?
Smaller room, I think. Power of perception.
It feels like there's a lot of people there. Thank you.
Yeah, 29 people, it's pretty, do we have a next study in
This is my first meeting here. I look forward to coming to more of them. It was a very learning experience. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for being here.
I'll say, if you want to email info at or president at, so, or basically any of the board, I don't know if I want to put it out to everyone, board members, feel free to, yeah, but feel free to email info or president if you want to send
Info at what?
evaluation comments, but not have it for everybody, or, you know, just a lot of stuff. So
That was
info
my input was that we should.
Info at harwoodbaltimore.com.
harwoodbaltimore.com.
Or president at harwoodbaltimore.com.
Did you have something you want to share?
Yeah, I just can't for myself, I did not say, go to streetsofbaltimore.com and click 28th Street if you want to leave a comment on it. Streetsofbaltimore.com, click 28th Street, and I'll email that to you folks as well, first what I will.
Also, folks, if you want to pay dues, feel free to go to our website and do so to make things like pizza at meetings possible and various other things of infrastructure, keeping a website up and other stuff to keep this existent.
Yeah, we are going to reactivate it formally. We sort of took a break because we were trying to figure out what our next steps were. We'll raise that at the next meeting more officially. We didn't get a chance to touch. But we will be bringing back the idea of paying dues. Some of you have been doing that.
Give us some more flexible spending money.
All right, with that, we're gonna go ahead and close. If you do have any time, if you wanna grab some petition sheets on your way out, to get, your community to sign on to them. But thank you all for being here, and please be safe and take care of yourself.